There are a number of things that can produce an inconclusive search, and below are a few ways to help you diagnose what might be at play. Before you try to diagnose it, might I suggest spending a bit more time reviewing the KSAs of the position, reflecting on the current composition of the team and the organization, and how the KSAs each candidate possesses adds to or detracts from that. One challenge that creates an inconclusive search is when the hiring committee can't come to a unanimous decision about who should be hired. I'm not saying that it's always needed to be unanimous, but often when it's not, it foretells trouble ahead. This might be described as, well, they probably will work out. It rarely works out. At one point earlier in my career, we were hiring several candidates where the committee split their decision. Those candidates ultimately didn't work out. We then agreed we're only going to hire unanimous decisions. This isn't always necessary, but I felt like when we articulated it this way, it meant we all had to show up differently during the process. We all had to work harder both during the hiring process and once the candidates were hired. Can you think of a time when you were part of a hiring process and the group reached an inconclusive decision? What did you all do to resolve it? Another scenario that often ends with an inconclusive decision is when we're met with the conundrum, one candidate that can do the job immediately but might leave after a year or two, versus someone who would likely grow into the role and appears to have a longer-term upside. The uncertainty here is sometimes tough to wrestle with. Go back and consult your KSAs and behavioral values. Most organizations don't have time and money to spend waiting for the moment when someone will grow into the role, if they ever will. You also don't know that someone will leave in a year or two. My usual counsel for this, make a decision based on the now. Another scenario where you want to be cautious is the rock star playing in the wrong band. Part of the reason someone is a rock star might be because of the band they are or were playing with. It's the classic investment company disclaimer. Past performance is not indicative of future returns. And speaking of investing, I once read a study that followed highly compensated investment bankers. It tracked those rock stars in the field that commanded massive compensation packages when they moved from one firm to the next. Essentially, the study found that in most cases, those rock stars never achieved anywhere close to their former glory at their new firms, even though they were paid exorbitant salaries. That was, they didn't achieve these results unless they brought their teams with them. So, as you're evaluating candidates, be mindful of the data you're collecting around how and when someone can do their best work. A final scenario to keep in mind is what I call the Sean versus Super Sean scenario. This is when Sean leaves and you want the replacement to be better at XYZ things than Sean. You want Super Sean. In reality, you just need Sean. But now you're stuck searching for a Super Sean and jettisoning all of the perfectly talented Seans. This comes up frequently in the job description phase, but you can see this drift during the interview and selection process if you're not frequently reviewing and referring to position KSAs as you rate candidates. It often turns into no one being quite good enough. They're not Super Sean, they're just Sean.